Okay, guys, new chapter, chapter 15, the new immigrants. So now we have all the immigrants, coming from Europe, Asia, the Caribbean, and Mexico. And this is when there was a high of people coming in, high numbers in the 19th century. So, hi guys, we are starting a new chapter 15. We're going to talk about all the new immigrants that came to America. There was a high abundance, high numbers of people that came over from, we have Europe, Asia, the Caribbean, and Mexico in the late 19th century and early 20th century. So I'm going to start right here through the Golden Door. So we have millions of immigrants like Fong Si, who, if you want to read the story above, you can, entered the United States in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. They lured by the promise of a better life. They thought they were going to get a better life here. They kept hearing America was great. They wanted it. Some of these immigrants sought to escape difficult conditions such as famine, no food, land shortages, or religious or political persecution. They wanted to be able to make money, have food, and prosper, and they wanted religious and political freedom to believe what they believe. Others, known as birds of passage, intended to immigrate temporarily to earn money and then return to their homes. So some just wanted the money. Europeans. Between 1870 and 1920, approximately 20 million Europeans arrived in the U.S. Before 1890, most immigrants came from countries in Western and Northern Europe. Beginning in the 1890s, however, increasing numbers came from the Southern and Eastern Europe. In 1907 alone, about 1 million people arrived from Italy, Austria, Hungary, and Russia. So there's millions of people coming over. So why did so many leave their homelands? Good question. Many of these new immigrants left to escape religious persecution. A lot of places they were telling them who they should or what they should believe in, and they did not want that. They wanted to believe in their own. Then we have Chinese and Japanese. Waves of Europeans arrived on the shores of the East Coast of America. Chinese immigrants came to the West Coast. West Coast is closer to them, so that's where they popped in. Many of them seek to find fortunes after the discovery of gold, the big gold rush in California. They heard about this and everybody wanted a piece of it. So the immigrants, they came over, they helped build railroads. This was a big deal back then, faster travel, including the first transcontinental line. So that means it went across the continent. When the railroads were complete, they turned to farming, mining, and domestic service. They needed jobs, so they turned to whatever they can. And you can finish reading that part on your own. And we're going to talk about the West Indies and Mexico. So between 1880 and 1920, about 260,000 immigrants arrived in the eastern and southern United States from the West Indies. They came from Jamaica, Cuba, Puerto Rico, and other islands. So many West Indians left their homes because jobs were scarce, so they didn't have jobs, so they left home. And the industrial boom in the United States seemed to promise work for everyone. Again, people were hearing all kinds of things about the Americas. There was land, jobs, opportunity, gold. They can get rich and make money. So that's why people wanted to come. So life in the new land. It was a difficult journey. By the 1870s, almost all immigrants traveled by a steamship. The trip across the Atlantic Ocean from Europe took approximately 1 week, while the Pacific crossing from Asia took nearly 3 weeks. So many immigrants traveled in steerage. It's the cheapest accommodations in the ship's cargo holds. It is not very nice in steerage. Rarely allowed on deck, immigrants were crowded into the gloom, unable to exercise or catch a breath of fresh air. They often had to sleep in louse-infested bunks, so bug-infested bunks, share toilets with many other passengers. In these conditions, disease spread. People died before they could even reach their destination. For those who survived, the first glimpse of America was breathtaking. They couldn't believe it. And of course, you've heard of Ellis Island, where the Statue of Liberty is. This is where immigrants were coming in, and immigrants faced anxiety of not knowing whether they would be admitted to the United States. So after this long journey, a week across the Atlantic Ocean, they didn't even know if they could get in. Imagine that. They had to pass inspection at immigration stations, such as the one at Castle Garden in New York, which was later moved to Ellis Island in New York Harbor. About 20% of immigrants at Ellis Island were detained for a day or more to be inspected. However, only about 2% of those or denied entry. So what were they being inspected for? They're being inspected for disease, tuberculosis right here. It was a bacterial infection and had a fever, coughing. It was easily spread. So they wanted to see if people had diseases. Do they have bugs? Are they clean? Or what are they there for? So all these things were taken in and they were inspected. And here's what some of the boats looked like and the people coming off, the immigrants. They're arriving in the island. I want you to continue reading all this. What kind of restrictions did they have? Continue reading until you get to the questions. For number 1, I want you to do the terms and names: Ellis Island, Angel Island, Melting Pot, Nativism, Chinese Exclusion Act, and Gentleman's Agreement. You do not need to do number 2. Number 3, which group of immigrants do you think faced the greatest challenges in the United States and why? You can do number 3. And number 4, what were the effects of the massive influx of immigrants to the U.S. in the late 1800s? So you're going to finish reading. You're going to do number 1, skip number 2, you're going to do 3 and 4. Okay, guys? Any questions, let me know.